What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. I got some exciting news. The Of Beasts and Sages update for Stoneshard is now live. Y'all probably know, maybe not, maybe you're at work like I was. We're gonna go ahead and cover the patch notes. There is a lot to cover, so I'm gonna skim through this as best I can. I don't want to make this video 40 minutes long covering all the updates because there's been some tweaks to skills. Obviously, we're getting new class, or well, not really a class. We're getting a new ability tree called the Arcanist. We're getting caves, but there's a lot of balance patches, nerfs, if you will, to the game that we've also got with this update. New items, equipment is also in the mix there too. So I'll try to briefly cover as best I can, and I'll highlight a few things that I think we should cover together. But I hope y'all are excited. I'm excited. Let's just roll through this sucker. So again, this is the 9.3 update of Beasts and Sages. Pretty straightforward there. The update is compatible with your older saves, but the devs obviously do recommend it's more optimal to start a new run, right? Which is okay. I'm okay with that personally. I was already deleting half of my saves and got me a clean slate anyway. But anyway, the main features of this update obviously are the core updates are going to be the Arcanist and the caves. That was the major release of the whole thing was just the Arcanist in the caves. So it said added the Arcanist, new magic skill consisting of 14 total abilities. You can see a nice little screenshot of that right here. Main focuses of this are to teleport or displace enemies. Manipulate in various ways of the battlefield. You can summon a phantom. You can summon a crystal. The crystal is more or less like it shoots little not laser beams, circle thing. Oh, projectiles. It's what it shoots. And then the phantasm is like a mirror image of yourself that does arcane damage. It has like 3 skills that it can use, with very limited mobility. But you can also teleport those things around and move them wherever you need. They added a new dungeon type, which is called the Caves. I covered this already. And for those of you that might have been playing Stoneshard before this update happened, you've probably come across a cave or two in your travels, because I've been asked this quite often. Hey, what do I do with these caves? I can't enter them. You can now. It's finally here. But there's 3 types of caves. It's divided into regular, overgrown, and mines. And these will serve as optional exploration sites that are going to be independent from the contract system. And they're usually located a moderate distance away from town settlements. Now, because I have been at work all day, I haven't been able to explore these, so I don't really know. I know one of them for a fact is around Osbrook. I don't know what's in there, but that's for Sunday. So if you guys haven't or don't already know, I will be streaming this on Sunday for a few hours, which is going to be pretty exciting stuff if you don't mind me saying. I'm going to be doing the Arcanist full magic tree. It's going to be a pain. It starts off bad. Trust me. They also added 14 new enemy types, 6 of which are mini bosses, and most of them are going to be tied to the caves, including a new mini faction, which is called the Hive. So we have the Brigands, normal stuff, but the Brigands are going to be split between a miner, a scout, prospector, a spelunker, overseer, raider, torturer, and an arcanist. God, gotta face the arcanist. Great. Then there's the Hive. So the Hive has rock eaters. Now they're all some sort of name or based around the rock eater name here. You have a worker, a hunter, a soldier, and then the queen, as you can tell from the image below. That is the queen. She summons more. Great. Then there's beast spiderlings and the crawler broodmother, another kind of like mini boss. They also added 8 plants. Now, I'm pretty sure if you haven't already, seen my previous devlog that I covered, they went over this a little bit more specifically, but these plants do apply your character with a better buff than typical herbs that you can find around. They're kind of more like special herbs, which is great. And they last for like 360 turns. Plus there's like a little puffball thing, which consider it just a grenade. You throw it, it puffs up, and I think it provides poison damage to enemies. Great stuff. Moving down the line here, we have, says caves will frequently contain the new ore veins. You do need a pickaxe, so if you don't have one, either A, you're going to loot one off of a corpse of a miner, or you're going to bring a pickaxe with you. I would probably err on the side of caution. Bring a pickaxe with you if you are planning on diving into a cave. That way you can make as much money off of these ore veins as possible. But so apart from the existing gold and silver nuggets, you can also harvest chunks of copper and iron. The psyche system, we covered this in a previous devlog, so I'm not going to go into too much detail, but that's getting implemented in this update as well. It added the 3 new psyche states and then reworked the existing ones. Both morale and sanity are also divided into 3 segments. Again, we're not going to go into too much detail. We covered it before in the devlog. It's here to stay. They added 27 caravan events, and this is really, really important to note. And it's been a pain point for me, and I'm sure a pain point for the rest of you guys out there. Think about like this. Every single time we do a caravan, from start to finish in a game, it takes so long to get to like 100% loyalty with these guys, because it's like 24-hour cycles before they get 1%. And the only individual that really gained any other events, I guess, or talk tracks, I don't know what you want to call it, was Daryl. He could level up so much faster than the other two. But even then, it was quite slow. I always found it a little redundant to be diving in a tier 5 dungeon, and my people are still not at 100%. Kind of already at late game, but they've kind of resolved that a little bit. There's a couple of things, and it doesn't say it here yet. We'll see it a little bit later. They reduced or increased, however, increased. It's 150% versus 100%, so a 50% increase of their loyalty gain as a natural gain. On top of that, because of these caravan events that they implemented, 6 for Daryl, 10 for Leaf, and 11 for Elda, that also includes gifts events and repeatable gift events and opportunities. These are going to help us to gain their loyalty much, much faster. So hopefully we're not going to see late game 100%. We're going to see like mid game till we get to them 100%, which is great. Absolutely love that. Also, they added 25 new pieces of gear. Lovely. As you can tell, some of these pieces of gear happen to be leather in the glove slot. We're still missing the tier 5 helmet pieces for leather, so hopefully that comes a little bit later. Now, a lot of this stuff here, I've already seen it in the world. A lot of it's reskinned, because this is the recruit mail, this green one you see here. That's the recruit mail. It's completely looks different now. I like the look. Personally, it looks nice. The belts are the same. These are going to be newer belts that we can get throughout our journey. Some of them are lower tier, some of them are higher tier. These gloves, however, are going to be tier 5. So the only thing we're really missing out on, in my opinion, is like a tier 5 helmet, hat, whatever it's going to be. They also added some axes, and as well as some capes. Now, again, not all high-end stuff. It's just kind of like filling in some gaps that we have between like tier 2 to tier 4. So, what's that, tier 3? Anyway, but this fills in the gaps, and it fills it in pretty well. So it says 7 new belts, including 3 of those being unique, 4 new cloaks, 4 new gloves, including one of those uniques. I'm going to tease this for you. It's this one, if you didn't already know, it's unique. 7 new chest plates, and then 3 axes, including 2 of these unique. I'm going to spoil this for you because I already saw this one. This one was sold by, what was the dwarf Ormy. He had this one right here. It's like a boarding axe or something. And then the other 2 have to be the uniques, right? Awesome stuff. They also added 4 new dishes: the miner stew, truffle salad, truffle steak, Mayan style honeyed azure caps. Added a new Manshire winery quest. This one's a pretty easy one to do, but it's nice. A little bit of lore, a little bit of story between the winery and this dude. It's cool. Just stolen wine. Go off, do that. It's extra reputation, which is nice. there are sometimes occasions where you can get your reputation in the first 3 contracts up to dang near Amity and be just shy of it and no other quests to do. This will help you get a little extra reputation. On top of that, I don't know if it's listed here just yet. On top of that, the mission for the orchard. You're gonna see me cut this in because I sat there for like 20 minutes thinking about what the heck that name of that place was. The orchard. You guys remember the orchard has that mission where you can go off and kill the Death Stingers. Okay, if you do that one without assistance of NPCs, meaning you don't drag the NPCs to help you fight, you will gain more reputation. Towards Manshire. I don't think they had that before. At least it doesn't seem like it. And then we have 3 new Steam achievements. They don't list it here. And then Steam community items, trading cards, emoticons, backgrounds, etc. And this is just a list of a couple of those. So special thanks to some folks that were taking part in the closed beta. Okmall's listed! Look at me go! I'm so famous! All right, well, I wasn't going to say I was part of the closed beta, but dang, brother. Your boy. Anyway, I'm listed. Ha! That's so cool. Anyway, there's that. Anyway, so some gameplay changes. And let me just show you something real quick before I dive in and touch on some of this stuff. Look how long this is, chat. So there's gameplay, economy, caravan, then the balances come in, or nerfs, however you want to see this, characters, then general items. Sorry, enemies, items, status effects, abilities, swords, so the sword tree, axes, maces, two-handed swords, maces, two-handed axes, spears, ranged combat, shields, armored combat, warfare, athletics, survival. Dang near every single one of these has tweaked a little bit. Electro, Geo, Magic Mastery, enemy abilities. Then there's fixes, AI, quests, abilities, quality of life, technical improvements, visuals, and miscellaneous. Now, I do not want to make this video, like I mentioned, freaking an hour long covering every little bit of it. So I didn't read all of this personally. I kind of skimmed through it. So I'm going to skim through, maybe hopefully highlight a few things while making this a little bit easier to go through. So if you see me cut myself in, you'll know why. All right, so to start, there is protection now applied proportionally when receiving mixed damage. I read through this a couple of times because I was trying to figure out exactly what they meant. They kind of explain it, but I still feel a little lost with it because I feel like we're taking more damage. So the change obviously aims to make hybrid damage, weapons, and other types more noticeably more effective. But if they're more effective for us against enemies, then that means they're more effective for the enemies against ourselves, right? So us taking more damage is what I read on here. So previously, each damage type was reduced by a full amount of protection. For example, if you dealt slashing, like 15 slash and 5 pierce, and you had 10, or the target had 10 protection, both types would be reduced by 10, resulting in only 5 damage. Okay, so if you help us out by helping us deal more damage because the protection isn't reducing as much, that's great. It's gonna backfire because it's also gonna be working against us, right? But now protection is gonna be split between the damage types based on their shared total damage. So for example, if an attack is 75% split between slashing and piercing, the 75% of your total protection will go towards one type of damage, and then 25 of that protection goes to the other portion of that damage, essentially making that 10 protection only result in more damage taken of 10. So I don't know how that equates towards the late game, how that's going to maybe negatively affect us. I'm not entirely sure, but there is that. So expanding on the hostage rescue contracts, this is something I really like. I thought was cool. Nice little change. We didn't really ask for it, but it's neat. The hostage rescues require us to lead the hostages out of the dungeon and then talk with them before it's finally completed. And then you can pop back in if you haven't already cleared the dungeon to finish clearing it off. The other one is enemies now producing a certain amount of noise when entering hostile state. This we have to be careful of when we're pulling enemies one by one, as we can now, and I've seen this happen quite a bit during the testing phases. You can now aggro more people without really meaning to aggro more people. So keep that in mind and be careful if you are trying to pull one by one. They reworked the giant bats into bat swarms. Reworked a certain point of interest. This part here was so vague, and I have zero clue what they mean. But there's that. Increase the chance of successfully acquiring leads and rumors. That's a good change. I don't, because I think the rumors don't always show up as often as I would like. I love it. I will talk to people more often to get rumors. They also reduced the paid rumors by half. Hilda's Wild Hunt also added an option to empower her bone charm with rock eater glands, and this one just adds fatigue resistance. It's probably never going to be an option to me. I'm never going to use that. There's better options, better bone charm buffs personally. Bloom is a new settlement situation. This one adds a slight increase or slight chance for rare plants to spawn outside of cave entrances. So those plants we had talked about, those herbs from earlier, that's a not too bad. If you get a bloom buff, go out, see if you can't pick up some of those herbs. They're nice. They're really, really good. Then there's dens and hunting grounds. So Skinflint Homs will now sell you leads on where those caves are located. Pretty cool. Not bad, right? Successfully completing a Death Stinger infestation. This is the one I was talking about before. Will now increase your Manshire reputation. That's for the orchard, right? But if you get the enemies, the NPCs involved, it will decrease the reputation instead. Added a hidden immunity so you can control res effects to the entities that should not be affected by these mechanics, like the Harpy's Nest, whatever. Who cares? Throwing a smoke bomb in a populated area, now considered an act of aggression. Throwing caltrops will now cause panic or aggression, but only when it lands on a tile adjacent to an NPC. And then there's another one they added. Digging up graves in front of a NPC is now considered a separate crime rather than disturbing the peace. So I don't know how often it is that you guys dig up graves in front of people, but I try not to do anything illegal in front of NPCs because the hit to your reputation tends to be pretty detrimental. Just don't do it. Now we have under the economy. So a couple things here that are good. Increase the base price of most valuables. Increase the price multiplier when selling your food or beverages, medicines, and so on. Lower the price multipliers when selling ammunition. I think I read this like arrows and all that is worth less when selling. They've already nerfed it when Rags to Riches dropped. It sounds like they're lowering it again. I don't know why. The Jeweler in Bryn now has an increased repair price, and it's also now possible to sell him broken jewelry. I still have yet to test this out, so hopefully repairing jewelry is still just as advantageous as it once was, because it was always more advantageous to repair the jewelry and make more profit when you sell it back. We'll find out that's still the case. Added fodder to the stock of one of the Rotten Willow traders. That was good. It's a quality of life thing, honestly. If it doesn't have it, it sucked. You had to go around, and it's filled with forest around the Rotten Willow. So it really kind of sucked to try to find fodder if you were already low. Increase the amount of vegetation sold by the vegetable traders. Added apples to the Manshire wine merchant. That's pretty dope. I don't mind that at all. The gatherers appearing during the bloom situation can now sell rare plants. Meat salting now requires only one, baby. Let's go. So I always hated this. Salt is already a pain in the butt to find as it is. You have to go all the way out to Denbray. It's kind of expensive. And you had to use 2 of them per meat that you salt. Now it's down to a singular one. Pancakes is a recipe you can now get instead of just finding it randomly. You can grab it up. I think it was from, yes, the Manshire Tavern now sells the pancake recipe. Simplified the recipe for the healing salve, but you can now only craft 1 as opposed to 3. I would love to see what the changes are to that because I haven't seen it yet. They rebalanced the amount of experience granted for crafting most consumables. Death Stinger hives Now always drop Hornet's Honey. Increase the amount of experience and loot gained from destroying Harpy and Crawler Nest, and then fixed the incorrect prices for non-butchered small game and birds. I don't know what the prices were before, but they apparently fixed it. The Caravan increased the followers' passive loyalty gain. I mentioned this earlier. It's now a 50% increase on their loyalty gain, which is great to see. Thank God we needed it. We definitely needed it. Reduce the cost of some Caravan upgrades. Needed that one too. I complained about it so much. I just thought it was half of the upgrades I completely avoided because it was too expensive. I would much rather focus on gear than my Caravan. Partially redistributed the bonuses for achieving devotion across earlier loyalty thresholds. I don't know what they mean by this. I don't know. I think they mean like the bonuses that you would get, as opposed to being like maxed out, you get these bonuses. They kind of just they spread those bonuses out over those 4 layers that they gain loyalty with, I guess. So for example, solidarity will now grant you trade favorability and negative repair cost. You get the idea. Like these benefits have changed. As opposed to being max, it's now split across the board. Supply run. Upon return, Leaf will now also double his own and his follower stock sizes, provided trade favorability, negative repair costs, which is pretty cool. Randomized loot granted by followers. For example, Aldous trophies after using reconnaissance. Now, this is another change you guys are going to notice. Love or hate it, it's here to stay apparently. It's a predetermined. So you've probably seen me do this before. She comes back after her little wild hunt thing, and she only provides us with like 1 pellet, and I'm like, no, we can do better than this. And I just reload the game until I get what I want. Predetermined. It's kind of like whenever you are trying to get a certain item from a shop, you can't just load your previous save because that stuff's predetermined as well. So yeah, it's whatever. We have balances here, so characters. Some of these characters got a bit of a boost, and I feel some of them got a bit of a reduction, a balance, if you will. So Arna, her Vow of Feet, I believe the way this works, the way you're looking at this, improves the bonuses of her psyche state. So it's 3% for each character level, and now it's 2% for each character level. So that decreases, and I think it still goes up to 40%. Decrease the cooldown between positive psyche states by 50. It's now by 100%. I believe the arrow points into the direction of which it's changing to. 5% chance to trigger second wind for each enemy within vision. Now it's while affected by second wind. I don't really know how this all... I don't know how to read this, to be honest. But I'd have to compare the previous with the new. Anyway, Ranger's Grit got a bit of a decrease, and I don't like it. I think it's silly. Like his trait wasn't great to begin with, in my opinion. It was okay, right? Before, because you get an extra stat point and ability point. I'm like, okay, I can balance that out. That's fine. It's gone. It's now, I believe, only 1 ability point, no stat point. I could be wrong about this. In fact, I'm going to cut myself out real quick. I'm going to check. All right. Yeah, it's exactly what I just said. You don't gain a stat point. You only gain 1 ability point. I don't understand what the point of that nerf was. It's not like those 3 stat points make a world of difference after I unlock the entire survival skill tree, which I don't often do. You may as well give us additional bonuses instead of just, some of those points seem wasted in my opinion. So to have to dive all the way in it just to get 3 additional, I still lost some ability points for doing that. The extra skill points kind of made up for me having to dive so deeply in survival. Just my opinion. What are you going to do? So with that being said, I'm probably not going to be playing Derwin much. I think his trait's not great. So there's that. Yana got a bit of a change as well. Hers used to be 5% per book. It's now 6% towards that corresponding school magic spells, right? And from 5 to 7.5 miracle potency. So if you do have a miracle or crits, right? You're going to hit a lot harder so long as you have up to 4 books. Now, as it mentions, stacks up to 4 times. So realistically, I think the best way of doing this is either you're going to have all 4 books be of 1 skill type, or if you're mixing and matching magic, have 2 and 2, whatever. So reading a complete set of 4 sorcery treaties will also grant you 2 miracle chance. And then grants 1% experience gains up to 15% for each learned sorcery ability. Velmir, I think from the way I've read Velmir, he gets a bit of an increase. He's getting an upgrade shot. So this one here says, if there's a boss, a mini boss, or more than 4 enemies within vision, applies all your enemies with 1.5% additional damage taken for each mini boss killed for the first time. I think that has a max stack of 30%. Killing a mini boss applies all enemies on the location with half of this penalty. And it doesn't stack with the full penalty. I don't really understand. Some of the wording's a little weird. But yes, so we can have additional damage towards enemies. So I was thinking, you know, there's a couple builds that we can make work with this, especially when you're diving into higher tier dungeons, tier 5s, and you're surrounded by like a crap ton of enemies. This could knock the floor, wipe the floor with them. Gore and Glory for Yorgrim, it's just a decrease in his how long his experience gain lasts. It's supposed to 60, it's 30. Leo got a bit of a decrease / increase in certain aspects. So he got an increase from the 1.5 to a 2% for magic bonus. He got a 1.5 to 2 for weapon, and they removed the 2% experience gain here, but they added it to other areas. So. But they only stack to 15 now. So no longer can we just, you know, stack his HP through the roof. It's going to get what? If we stack up to 15 at 2%, it's 30 HP additional. Whatever. He was already too strong to begin with. Here, I got a bit of a, I don't know how to describe this. I'm pretty sure it's like a buff here for visiting a location for the first time for more vigor. And then when this one here is a bit of a buff, but then a bit of a decrease because the maximum fatigue gain is only up to 20%. So we get there faster, but it's also lower overhead. So what are you going to do? Then Hilda's not too bad. It's, you know, hers wasn't really all that crazy anyway to begin with, but they took the, each character level, the threshold of activating negatives was 0.5% per level. So you can end up like, instead of 25 base HP, you might have, 25 base pain, it might be 30 base pain before you start seeing negatives. Instead of going up by 0.5, it's now up by 0.3, so it's a nerf there. And then killing bosses, so the troll or manticore, instead of like 10 per animal kill, it counts only as 5 animal kills of every type. Let's go ahead and cover general. It says reduce the amount of experience gained for killing enemies, or most enemies. Adjusted the experience formula to factor in the differences between enemy danger and the player's level. The greater the difference, the less the experience you receive. I assume this means that if you're high level, you can't just go into low-level dungeons and gain a crap ton of experience. Learning spells now penalizes the backfire chance of other schools. I don't like that. I would much rather it decrease their magical power, because backfire is already annoying as it is. I don't know how that's going to affect us. I think if I'm reading it right, it's either the backfire chance in total or the backfire chance specifically for other schools. So have to look into that a little bit more deeper. Raise the minimum backfire damage threshold from 0 to 5. I don't know what that means. Is there always 5% backfire damage now? Like you can't get down to 0? I don't really know. Reduce the armor penetration of backfire damage. So instead of it always penetrating through all of our armor, it now penetrates 90% of it. That's a better thing. Backfire damage also affects the durability of equipped armor, which also sucks now, making it consistent with other damage sources. Enemy spells armor penetration now scales with perception, just like it does for the player character. Great. Great. For enemies, rebalanced some undead and proselyte mini-bosses, and nerfed Harpy's stats to better match with stated danger levels. Items were rebalanced, some weapons and armor categories to increase the impact of investing into weaponry skills. Couple of notes I could think about this one here would be, I think, for like two-handed axes. I think they had nerfed or changed a couple of stats on some of those weapons. And I know for a fact that two-handed axes have some passives that help you decrease your fumble with certain actions, or you use the skill and it would help you decrease these. So they probably increased it to help you offset those negatives with the weaponry skills, is from what I was gathering here. Now, Paragoric got a nerf. I hate this. I like this. Paragoric's amazing, because especially if you have a Paragoric mixed with smoke, you could throw smoke out there and not have to cough. Now it's only a 50% reduction in the coughing penalties. Lame. Status effects. Confusion. Chance to take a step in a random direction. Ancestor's Gaze. The effect loses a stack every 60 turns now. And it's 30%. So Ancestor's Gaze got a nerf. Blessing, I believe we got a bit of an increase here. Crit avoidance is increased. And then you added Fortitude to that. That's nice. And then Peace of Mind. Receiving experience has a greater impact of reducing the effect's duration, because Peace of Mind is for the elves, lasts for like a whole day, and then as we kill things or gain experience, it reduces that how long it lasts, essentially. For stances, the starting duration is now increased, but the maximum is only 10, so it starts off at its maximum. They didn't change how you lose stacks, which I think is the biggest issue I've always had with using stances, is it's so hard to keep your stance stacks high, because every single time you either counter attack or you basic attack, it reduces those stacks, and it's so hard to keep it up. Keeping distance is now also considered an attack skill, and then there's a bunch of changes here. Now, I don't want to go through all of these. I will just tell you right now, after reading this at work, swords, one-handed swords specifically, most of these have had an increase, so they got a buff. One-handed axes, the same thing. I'll even show you right here. Increased scaling, increased armor damage, 4 to 5, 15 to 20. So all of those increased. Same thing with maces, increased. Duration of the buff, increased. All of it's increased. It's great. Then we get the two-handed weapons. Two-handed swords, increase the base value of the scaling for bleed chance. So that's a good one. Okay, cool, increased. This one, decrease. This one, stacks up to 4 times. So it's still a decrease, because I think it stacked 3 times. It's 3, 6, 9. Now it stacks up to 8%. Revanche is a decrease. Fight to the death, decrease. Two-handed maces, decrease. You get the idea. It's a lot of decreasing. Two-handed axes got an increase. Increased. That's an increase for the crit chance. Increased. So that's awesome. So diving into two-handed axe is going to be a pretty good deal. Spears, increased. Rework the visual status effect. Who cares? Increased. Awesome. Ranged combat, reduced. It seems like they don't want us to be way over here. Okay, here's the enemy. Here I am. Enemy dead. We can't do that. That's no go. It's got to be, here's the enemy, here we are, and then we're fighting. That's what they want us to do. Everything that's good from a distance, it's no good. But anyway, they did all that. Because it seems like it's all, well, that one's a little bit of an increase. But who cares? It's just negatives. I see negatives. It's fine. Shields, I would hope, got an increase. I didn't read this. Raise shield added a crit avoidance bonus. Light shield reduces the scaling of counter bonus. Reduces. No. Increase. Heavy shields, 10% energy resto for 5 turns. 33% energy resto is added to the status effect itself. Breakthrough, that's an increase in control. Sorry. From negative 15 to negative... Yes, that's an increase, technically, against the enemy. For us. Positively affecting us. Whatever. Shield bash, heavy shield. Replenishes block power. Let's go! It's increased! Okay. So the base starting point is 5% higher. Fantastic. Hold a line, bit of an, that's negative damage taken. It's higher. That's better there for block power recovery. Reduces the ability tree's cooldowns. Let's go. 2 turns? Bet. All right. Retaliation, increased, increase. Let's go. Fantastic. Armored combat, increase. Increase, increase, increase. Heavy armor stuff, technically it's increase. It's a negative, but it's an increase. Increase, cool. Warfare, seize initiative. Increase the scaling of the dodge chance and block chance penalties. Noise, that's it. Increase. Warcry, reduce the base confusion chance. Decrease. Garbage. Yeah, but Rage got an increase in its turns. Defensive tactics, I got a reduction. Reduction. So my most favorite ones, offensive tactics, defensive tactics, and tactical advantage got a bit of a nerf. It's unfortunate. I use it a lot. Finisher, also nerfed, my guys. Oh my goodness. So finisher, it only applies now, because it was all abilities. Now it's attacks, charges, and spells. So no more replenishing the stacks on your first aid, adrenaline rush, gone. Sucks. Thirst for battle, got a decrease, it's all decreases. Right on target, reduce the scaling of ability energy cost bonus, it's not the worst. Intimidation, decreased. Tactical advantage, again, decreased. Athletics, reduce the scaling of the dodge chance and damage taken bonuses. To elusive? Oh my god. Oh, why, dude? It's terrible. Sudden lunge now requires an equipped melee weapon. I did notice that. I was wondering, that seemed a little fishy that you could use sudden lunge with a range weapon, but I was like, it's probably fine. Again, adrenaline rush, decreased. It was overpowered. I get it, but it sucks. Inner reserves, got an increase, but I never really cared to ever use this. I don't know. No time to linger, decreased. Sprint training, is that an increase? I think so. Dual wielding, flurry of strikes, it got punished. It got punished hard. It doesn't hit as hard, or it doesn't hit as many strikes anymore. So there's that. Anyway, deflect, granted bonus for each block or full dodge. That wasn't too bad of a change. Enough for everyone. Reduce the scaling of the counter chance, the dodge chance, and damage taken bonuses. So got a nerf. Concentration, nerf. Nerfed. Unstoppable. Reduce the scaling of health and energy replenishment. So nerf. More blood. Nerf. But what does it say here? More blood, negative 25 to negative 10 ability energy cost. The effect stacks indefinitely up to 2 times. Oh, indefinitely. Now it's up to 2 times. Yeah, it's a huge nerf. Terrible. Survival. Cauterized wounds reduces the effect of body parts condition by only 3% now? Terrible. Unless that's good. I think it's good because it's not the vigor part. Yeah, anyway. First aid, reduce the base healing efficiency bonus. Will to survive, extensive rework here. Removes all negative physical and mental effects. Activates vigor for 60 turns. Activates will to survive for 15. You get fortitude. Temporarily immune to injuries and negative states. Negative 5 damage taken for each fully or temporarily moved effect. Up to negative 25. That's new. Replenishes X% of maximum health. And then Pathfinder got a reduction as well, chat. From 150 to 120 for vision range. And then applying them with, instead of 10%, it's 5. What are you going to do? Residual charge, bonus to shock damage, now scales with willpower. Does not stack, though. Geomancy Stone Armor got a bit of an increase for magic resistance. Armor Explosion now deals flat arcane and has a cap on its crushing damage. Lame. Ruminative Enfeeblement, the effect for multiple boulders now stacks. Good. Rune of Sustention, a little bit of an increase there. Rune of Binding reduces the ability tree's cooldowns by, instead of 2 turns, it's 1 turn. Ooh. They saw me with my my infinite turn Geo character, I'm sure. They're like, this is he can use skills without ever paying the bills. Yeah, they've seen it, I'm sure. Rune of Unity, extensive rework, allows the characters to simultaneously summon 4 rune. What? 4? Okay. Rune of Unity. Allows the characters to simultaneously summon 4 runic boulders. If the boulders within 2 tiles of the character, its destruction by enemy no longer causes confusion. Oh, that's nice. I like that. I have to look at that myself and read it more in detail in the game. Rune of Cycle, the arcane damage dealt is equal to 10. Now it's only 3%. Times the number of runic empowerment stacks of the current energy. I guess it'd be 9%. I don't know. Rune of Absorption burns only 2%, so they lowered that too. Magic Mastery, Seal of Finesse. Looks like a little bit of decrease there in the buff. Bonus to magic and nature damage now scales with willpower and the power corresponds 3. Seal of Insight, again, decrease, decrease, decrease. That one decrease. That's decrease, decrease. It's all decrease. It's just a bunch of... This one's rework, though. Here we go. Forgotten Lore. Grants 0.5% spell energy cost, negative 1% cooldown duration for each learned spell, and 1% magical power and 1% miracle for each learned sorcery passive, including those of the Magic Mastery. I can't imagine that's stacked too much. Then enemy abilities, Caustic Blood now always creates a pool of acid on the dead crawler's tile, rather than occasionally spawning it on adjacent. And then a bunch of, oh my gosh. So like I said, there's a ton to this. So lots and lots and lots of fixes. I think this video is already dragged on a little too long, but just keep in mind there's a bunch of fixes here. AI fixes, quest fixes for the craftsman. Mainly a lot of these fixes to these quests happen to be, there's Fate of the Brewery in here too, but most of these end up being the quests that you would have for the Caravan. So gathering up the craftsman, the quartermaster. Abilities, there's a few fixes here. Quality of life, we'll read this one together. Made it possible to advance conversation dialogues, prompts by pressing any number key, not just one. The brightness setting now uses gamma correction instead of linear increase. Improved the display of save files in the menu. Saves made in dungeons now show the location's name instead of just the type. Technical improvements, reworked the Fog of War. You've probably seen it so far. It looks a lot better. The animations occurring inside the Fog of War will now be sped up or skipped altogether. I'm guessing that's a performance issue. So instead of having them all actively doing something, it's like, oh, they're in the Fog of War. We can't see them. You can reduce resources. They also improved the lighting system. I've seen this. There's like little candles that they've added. Look pretty neat. But yeah, they added a bunch of that. And then miscellaneous, some speech lines, alternative dialogue, and rewrote many ability hovers for clarity. Again, I don't want to cover a lot of this. There's just so much to cover, and the video is already dragging on pretty long. I didn't expect to talk this much, but I'm super, super excited. I'm pumped for this. So I hope y'all are just as pumped as I am. Because like I said, there's so many changes that are happening, and it's going to take us a long time to learn them all and try to find another way to play the game, essentially. Now, I can almost guarantee you guys that the changes that have happened right now with this update, there's going to be some tweaks. While these balances might be good now or might seem good now, once everybody starts playing the game and starts actively giving feedback and showing what the heck, if these changes are actually worth it or not, we will see some balance changes in the future. I guarantee it. And over probably the next couple of months until they do their next big update. But as always, I do want to hear you guys' thoughts in the comments down below. So what you guys, if you had a chance to play, I want to know what you've playing, how you're playing it, how you're building it. If you've had a chance to check out the caves, what your favorite parts of the caves are. Just in general, how your overall enthusiasm is. Are you as hyped as I am? Are you just like, meh, it's okay. But as always, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this channel with your friends and family. I'll catch y'all next time. Bye!